Hey everybody, welcome to Board Online, Board Offline. Today we're bringing you something a little bit different. Now, what I wanted to do with this was bring you a full gameplay of a scenario from the Siege expansion for Time of Legends, Joan of Arc. Unfortunately, what happened was, for one thing, there's no solo scenarios. There's only 2 solo scenarios in Joan of Arc, and only one of them do I really enjoy. There's no solo Siege scenarios, so I had a buddy that was coming over. We were going to record it. He ended up having to cancel before he got here, like an hour before he was going to be over here. Already had the game pretty much set up, so I went ahead and finished setting it up, and I decided to try running through playing both sides and recording it that way. Turns out I find that exceedingly tedious and boring, so I ran through the first round. So what you're going to have here is basically a demo. You're going to see the Siege phase, which is a phase that only occurs in Siege scenarios for Time of Legends Joan of Arc, which is actually pretty cool. It kind of simulates the weeks or months of Siege occurring leading up to the battle, the final battle that ends the Siege. So you'll see that Siege phase, and then you'll see one round of combat with, using the siege tower and using the castle walls and all that stuff, and it should give you a decent idea of what you can expect playing the Siege scenarios for Joan of Arc. Also, I do want to mention that because of the size of this scenario, I was unable to find a way to play it in my normal recording area, so I had to play it out in the kind of living room area of my house. So the sound quality is much poorer than it normally is. I'm honestly a little bit unhappy with it, but I still filmed. I did have this film that I wanted to show it to you. I think that the sound quality is good enough for you to be able to still enjoy the video. But just know that, if this is your first time seeing one of my videos, it is not the normal quality of audio that I work with, and the lighting is a little off, again, because I'm filming not in my normal conditions. So, with anything else, let's get right down to the video. Actually, I do want to mention our sponsor, though, Board Game Co. This is a website where you can go and buy, sell, and trade games through their website. Go over there, they link right up to your BGG account in order to see what games you might want to trade, what games you might want to trade for, all that kind of stuff. They build a trade list for you. You can sell games to them. They have a whole point system over there. They've got all kinds of information for you so you can learn exactly how it is their entire trading, selling, and buying system works. So be sure to go check out Board Game Co. It's a great place to buy, sell, and trade your way into a better collection. So now let's get right down to the table, and I'll show you a quick demo of the Siege expansion for Joan of Arc. So we have this Siege here now. This is the French side here, the British side over there. They are trying to come in and take the city, and the French have decided they're actually going to, besides just fending off this siege, they're actually going to run out the gates and meet them. So let's look at what we've got here. As you can see down here, here are all the different units the French have, and we'll kind of, as we use them, I'll point them out to you. You'll see the cards on the screen, but okay, so here we've got a culverin up here, and here we have one of our characters right here. That's Elaine Blanchard. And then we've got some crossbowmen. We've got, let's see, this right here is a VCA, and then next to him on either side are which ones are those? The pikemen, and there's another pikeman down here. Anytime you see these the white rings, those are going to be my regular peasants. I gave them a different color to distinguish them from our militant peasants, which you'll see out here as well. So then we've got another character right here. That one is going to be Jean Jourdain. And then you can also see we've got the blacksmith down here next to this building. Up here is the soothsayer standing here in front of this keep right here. There's a soothsayer, the apothecary, and we've got the apothecary is standing right here, and then we've got all their cards for conversation. You can see all three of them have this conversation piece. They also do have some abilities as well, where if we recruit them just by putting a unit there, then we can get that ability. The conversation is going to require a character in order to do that. So we'll see if we can get around to doing any of that. And then over on this side, we've got a bunch of peasants here. These are the militant peasants, and then some regular peasants. Right here, we've got some more paviciers, crossbowmen, and I believe I already showed you that culverin, but here is a ballista up here as well. Some more crossbowmen. These are some foot knights. We've got who's this? This is Guy. That's his name, and he's my third character, or not my. I'm not going to be playing the French. I'm going to be the British, but this is the French third character out of the three that they have. And you've got the priest down here, so he's ready to go ahead and talk to the priest. And right here, you can see I'm getting ready to hopefully start painting some of these. You've got the French mounted knights right here that are next to the open gate. So this gate is actually open, and they're going to be charging out here shortly. The way the French score points. Well, first I should say the way the game ends is after 6 rounds, and then whoever has the most points wins. Alternatively, the game can end if the French manage to kill Henry V. But the way the French are going to score points is by destroying my war machines, whether the bombard, the culverin, the ballista, the siege tower. Each of those destroyed is 2 victory points. And then the other way is the English wagons that are out there. There's 2 wagons out there. I'll show them to you in just a second. Each of those will be worth 3 points for the French. And then moving on to the British, here is what they've got. They only have 1 character, Henry V, and actually he'll be starting level 1. There we go. Okay, Henry V. You've got foot knights, sappers, Volgiers, standard bearer, bowman, sergeant-at-arms, musician, and haquebudiers on this side as well. And then with the war machines, and technically the Pavis shield is considered infantry. It's not a war machine, but I put it over here just because it's not really a person either. But anyway, so the Pavis shield, the bombard, the siege tower, the culverin, and the ballista are the ones over here. Also, we have these abilities here. You can see with these intrigue tokens, we can spend 2 to get famine, destroy all enemy disrupted units, 1 death threats for their next melee attack. All your infantry units, flank results become push results instead, or double dose. For its next attack, a bombard or culverin gains +1 red die. All right, so then to give you my locations, let's take a look. The wagons are here and here. All right, and King Henry is right here, so we need to make sure he's safe. I started him there because we've got a farmer right here who will be able to talk to. He has these this contingent of Volgiers who are going to be guarding him. They have the cohesion ability, which gives them an extra white die whenever they attack or defend, so that's going to be helpful, but they have to all be in the same area. So we'll get them all together once we leave this spot. You can see these guys are kind of undefended, but I'm hoping that the French aren't going to venture that far out. But, I mean, it could be tempting target. We'll see what happens. I actually can't move the carts at all. They have to stay where they're at. So that might have been a mistake, but we'll see what happens. I've got the riflemen over here. That's what I'm going to call these guys. The riflemen and some foot knights guarding this wagon. We've got 4 bowmen here. We've got some bowmen here. Now, this group right here, the most important guys are these sappers right here. The sappers are engineers, and they can go and start tearing down the walls by essentially they set fire, but it represents them working on the walls. tearing them down. I believe the ramparts have 3 resiliency or 3 damage that they can take. I'll have to double check that. So we've also got a guide up here that we can talk to. Here's a culverin, some sergeant at arms right here, and one of these shields, some more foot knights, obviously my siege tower right here. Here's a well, merchant girl, a ballista, bombard, 2 more shields. There up here is the civilian or citizen. Then over there we've got some more, 2 more sergeant at arms, a musician, a standard bearer, and a some bowmen. So the whole idea here is that all of these troops are going to follow this up and hit the wall. Once this is here, then every area that's adjacent to this area, including the area that it's in, is now able to storm that wall. And then off camera, but right up here, we've got another sapper right here with some foot knights, some more riflemen and bowmen, and a shield. And he's going to come at this wall over here, see if he can do something with that. Okay, this is the siege phase. And what's happening here is the French player has chosen these cards, lay them down, and they have to reveal them in this order. They have 12 morale and 12 supplies as their resources for this phase. I have 6 morale and 6 supplies. However, after each round, I'll gain 3 supplies and they'll lose 1 morale automatically. So I have this hand of cards, and I've looked through them, and I think that the first thing I'm going to choose is overconfidence. I'm going to use this. If the besieged has at least 6 morale, choose 1 enemy area. This area cannot be activated during the first round of the game. So I'll definitely choose that. Then the next one I think we'll go with concentrated fire. Inflict 1 damage on a fortification. Okay. And then finally, I think we'll go with ransack. And this is a permanent one. This stays in play for the 3 rounds if I wanted to. Gain 2 supplies at the start of each round. The besieged player loses 1 morale at the start of each round. So then out of these 2, I keep 1 and discard the other. I think I'll keep hostile initiative and discard decoy. So now we reveal the first card for the French player. Look at the first 6 War Council cards. Place 1 of those cards at the bottom of the deck and then place the others at the top of the deck in the order of your choice. Now, of course, I don't know what they're doing here because I'm not the French player, but we're going to get that done real quick. All right, so the French player has taken 1 of these cards and put it on the bottom of the deck and then place the other 5 in any order on top. So then I reveal this one. Oh, and that actually cost them 1 supply to do that. All right, and so then I reveal this, overconfidence. If the besieged player has at least 6 morale, so I'm going to make them not activate a particular area. And I'm going to choose the area with the French mounted knights. So those mounted knights will not be able to activate the first round of the game. So then moving on to here. All right, so secret plan. Look at the first 3 War Council cards. Keep 1 of those cards in your hand, discarding the others. You may choose this card during the first council phase instead of choosing 1 of the drawn cards. And that costs them 2 supplies. All right. So they have taken that card, and now it's my turn again. We have the concentrated fire, inflict 1 damage on a fortification. And I think we're going to inflict that damage right here on this rampart right here. And so that'll be 1 damage. The ramparts can sustain, I'll have to double check, I believe 3 damage. But with the sapper right here, they are on their way to taking that area down. And I'm not sure if I have to choose 1 or the other. I think this entire section is considered rampart, but just in case, we'll say we're choosing this particular section of the wall. All right, and then we've got treason. Cancel the effect of the next revealed besieger card. This card's cost must still be spent up to what the besieger can pay. Okay, well, that is not good because that means that ransack has been canceled. Oh, by the way, I needed to pay 2 supplies for concentrated fire, but now ransack has been canceled. It still costs me 2 morale. Okay, and so now what will happen is this will all get discarded, and a second round of the siege phase will begin. All right, now I did forget that the besieged loses 1 morale, and the besieger gains 3 supplies for at the end of that round. Okay, so now we're going for our second round here. Everybody's chosen their cards. Right off the bat, we got Bombard on the Tower. Choose one enemy area located 1 hex away from one of your ramparts towers. This area suffers a 3 red die attack without rolling for defense. Now let's go and pay the 2 supplies and 4 morale. So fortunately for me, it's only 1 hex away, which limits the options. But I'll say this one right here is definitely very tempting for the French player. This one could take out my siege tower, but it would take out siege tower and then possibly some foot knights, and that's it. They could come down here because this has the standard bearer and the musician in it. I think, though, they're going to go for maximum effect and roll the dice on this over here. Now, okay, actually, one thing I just realized, though, it says this area suffers a 3 red die attack, not each unit. So, but they can't roll defense. Yeah, I think they're still gonna go after that because, yeah, that's what we're doing. Okay, so the French are firing their bombard over here. And we've got a shield, which is nothing, a push, and a disrupt. So the British player, let's see, we've got a push 1 unit, push the bowman, and the French player would probably push them here. And then for disrupt, we'll actually let the shield take the disrupt, and it'll go into the infirmary. Oh, except it doesn't. I forgot. The shield actually has 4 health, so it takes a wound. All right, so now moving on, we have Raining Fire. Designate 1 enemy hex located 2 hexes away from one of your units. Each unit in this hex suffers a black die attack and may roll defense. Well, I think we're going to soften this hex up right here. It has all these guys on it. So, yeah, each of them is going to suffer a black die attack. They also can roll their defense, though, so we'll see how that goes. So let's go with this guy first. It's a shield, so nothing. And we'll just work our way across the top here and then across the bottom. A shield. This guy right here. Oh, it's a kill. Okay, so that's a pikeman who has a yellow die for defense. And he got nothing on that. But he's in the same area as the Paviciers, who allow 1 unit to reroll a die during an attack, and they roll the shield, so they're okay. All right, so now working across the bottom from left to right. Got a disrupt. That is the regular peasants who have no defense whatsoever, so they go into the infirmary. A kill, so these peasants are dead. A shield, and finally a kill. So we just taken out the peasants. Everybody else is fine. And for each infantry unit destroyed, a player gets 2 experience points, so the British have just earned 2. All right, and here we've got Sabotage. Choose 1 enemy unit, war machine unit. This unit cannot attack in the first round. It costs 2 morale. And I think they're going to choose the Bombard. It says it cannot attack. Okay, yeah, so the Bombard is the one they will choose there. So now we have emergency supplies. Gain 2 logs or a ladder We already have 2 logs. So I think the latter is what they will choose. So there we go. There are now 2 ladders that the British can deploy. The French now have conscription. Choose one to deploy on your rally point. Looking at all this, they're going to go spend 2 morale, and they're running dangerously low on morale now. And they're going to place 1 sergeant at arms. And since this spot behind the wall here just got blasted, they're going to go right there. I'll get them a blue base a little bit later, but that's where the sergeant at arms will go. And then for the final card for the second round, we have Raining Boulders. Inflicts damage on 2 different fortifications. That'll cost 4 supplies. And one location will be here. And the other one is actually going to go over at the other spot that we already put one. So that will mean that it has 2 damage now. So that is the end of another round. 1 more morale goes away. That means they have 2 morale left for the French. And then the British, of course, gain 3 supplies. All right, third and final round. What do we got first? We have rationing. Do not pay the cost of your next revealed card. Okay, moving on to the British. The besieged loses poisoning. The besieged loses 2 morale. Well, that's all their morale. And 2 supplies. All right, and then we've got emergency repairs. Remove 1 from one of your fortifications. Okay, so clearly I'm going to be doing this one right here. Now, also, I did a little quick check on the rules, and the rampart is actually this wall. So these are 2 different walls right here. They're separate. This wall, this tower, and the wall on the other side of this tower are 1 rampart. So if 3 damage was dealt here, then those are the 3 pieces that would collapse. All right, and then we have bombardment. Inflict damage on a fortification. Each unit located on this fortification suffers a red die attack without rolling for defense. So we basically have 2 spots that we might do this on. The one that just was repaired only has 1 unit on it as a culverin, whereas this one right here has 1 damage on it already, and it has a ballista and some crossbow on it. So I think this is where the bombardment's going to happen. So 1 damage, and then have to roll a red die, and we'll go with the ballista first. It is disrupted. Does it have... Now, ballistas actually have 2 health, so it suffers 1 damage. And then the crossbowmen are killed. So that is another experience point for the British player. All right, well, the French final card is Veteran Garrison. Choose 1 allied troop. Once per round, this unit may re-roll 1 dice for the remainder of the game. Place any available unused token next to this unit as a reminder. I think we'll use this token right here. And I think we're going to make one of these cavalry. I'm going to drop that right in there, and that cavalry unit will be my unit. They're going to be heading out here eventually, and I want them to really be able to get into the thick of it. And the final siege card here, conscription. They will take a sergeant at arms, spend the 2. By the way, the British have spent all of this. That is gone between bombardment and poisoning. I forgot to pay that. And now they're spending this 2 morale to get a sergeant at arms, which I just realized has to go on the rally point. So that sergeant at arms from earlier for the French can't go at that wall. I'll actually move them back to the French rally point as well. One last thing, the French have 5 supplies left. So they can purchase with that. We'll purchase 1 legend token with that. And with these 2 morale, there's nothing that can be purchased with that. So the British are out of luck as far as that goes. All right, so first round, let's see. We're going to have 4 activation orders for everyone. And then what are these? All right, so this lets you change an activation order into a reactivation or into an interrupt, or swap out experience for legend and vice versa, or get 3 experience points, or 1 activation order turns into 3 experience points, or 1 activation turns into 3 legend tokens. All right, so there's the 4 activation orders, and then I think the other, what we'll do is change one of these into a interrupt. And then over here we've got the 4 activation. It takes 4 to upgrade Henry V. The British player is going to go ahead and take 3 more experience points. So I think right off the bat, we'll use the French player will use 1 activation to activate this area. Now, these knights are not there. They're in this hex right here. And this character is going to use a bonus action to have a conversation with the priest. Okay, so here's the one we ended up getting. We can't do these 2 because they are for holy and unholy. But let's see, I have heard rumors of corruption amongst the bishops of the church. Do you really think it's plausible? Or the village may be attacked in no time. Can you help me to organize the evacuation of your flock? Well, this one actually seems like it's relevant to what's going on right now, so let's do that. Class B. You are a good man. I will bring the villagers together. Gain 2 intrigue or 2 legend tokens, and I can spend 1 experience to ask a level 2 question. Well, there's no experience points, but we will gain, or the French will gain 2 intrigue tokens. Now, also the priest, since he is in the company of the French units, can do prayer or heal. There's nobody to heal, but prayer is something that can be done. And so that could be either a legend token or a experience point, and the French are going to take an experience point. Guy here is going to move into this hex. That puts 3, the rampart is 3. Takes up 3 spaces, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's 8 spaces that have now been taken up. So that is full. But that'll let him leave and group up with these guys as they leave. Meanwhile, the footmen, I think, will move here to this hex in preparation of the possibility that a sapper is going to successfully breach here. Speaking of which, the 2 main threats to the French right now are going to be this sapper over here, the sapper over on the other side of the table over here, and then of course this siege tower and these guys around it. Or the French are going to focus on this right here. So this activation token will be for this area, which will have the rifleman, the crossbowman, and this guy right here, who does, as it turns out, have a ranged attack. He's melee, but then he does have this ranged attack as well. And they are going to focus all of their fire on this area right here. Because if they can take down the siege tower, then they've got a shot at, basically then they only have to worry about the sappers at that point. Well, I guess the English do have ladders, though, so that's something too, but they're going to focus right here. All right, so the rifleman is the yellow die, the red is the crossbowman, and then these 2 dice right here are the character. Okay, wow. Okay, so it's going to be 1 kill, 2 disrupts, and a push. Now, the foot knights cancel a push when defending, so that is gone. But the rest of this is here. All right, so now the siege tower has 2 white dice, and then the foot knight has a black die. 1 block, so that'll block the kill. So we'll let the Foot Knights take one of the disrupts. The other will go to the Siege Tower, which of course translates into a wound. And the Siege Tower has a total of 8 health, though. So the next up, I think the last thing that the French player will do on their turn. So now with this character, with this character right here, the Culverin actually gains a red die for its attack. All right, so we'll do the Culverin first because the Crossbowman does have an ability with his red die. So Culverin first. Let's get these dice out of there. Oh, and by the way, it's firing. Let's see. They both can do that, I believe. Yeah, because they get +1 to their range for being on the ramparts. So both firing over here again, trying to take down this siege tower. These technically are changed into push, but push doesn't affect things that are big. So this might be a good, and all of that's useless. So might be a good idea right up front for the French player to use the reroll. So that is what's going to happen. Not much better. A disrupt did get rolled though. And here is the another disrupt. Okay, so then the 2 white dice for defense. That's 2 wounds. Okay. But that is where the French player is going to end. Okay, so now before the end of the French player's turn, they're going to spend 1 intrigue for boat assault, so they'll gain 1 interrupt token, and then both of these interrupt tokens will slide down to here to be stored for the next round. All right, so to begin the English player's turn, the first thing that's going to happen is Henry V is going to spend 4, that should be an experience token there, but 4 experience points to upgrade. And going from level 1 up to, there's 2 different versions. There's the unholy and the holy side. We're going to use this side because it allows him once per round to play 2 interrupts in a row, and also I can move him easier. At the start of the turn, I can move him into a adjacent allied or free area. So the very first thing that's going to happen here is we'll activate Henry, and as a bonus action, he's going to speak with the farmer. And since he's level 2, he gets to use one of the level 2 questions. So here we go. We've got, you're packing your things, right? Moving out with your family. Or this field seems barren. What happened to it? Or the holy option, where do you sell your labors? Well, you know what? Since that's not always available to us, let's go in and ask that one. Usually in the market, usually in the market of the neighboring city. It's a bit of a journey, but I get a good price. Next round, I can choose 2 War Council cards during the council phase. Oh, okay, that's pretty good. That was a bonus action, so Henry can still take his normal actions, or normal action, I should say. So they will move here. And I'm not sure I want to do anything else with him right now. Let's see what's going on. Okay, so we're going to activate this hex because I want to get working on this right here. See if we can knock down this wall. So the sappers, as engineers, will go ahead and basically light a fire. We're going to put a fire token there. So the first thing that he has to do actually is going to be to set down this wood that allows him to go into the moat. The sapper is going to go into the moat, set fire in here, which at the end of the round will do a 3rd damage and knock that down. The French player really wasn't thinking very clearly about what he was doing there. Lucky for me. Sapper then can take a bonus move to get out of here, and we'll go this way. or actually we'll fall back into the forest where he came from. Then the foot knights are going to stay where they're at, and the bowmen and the riflemen are going to fire up here because that's really the only place. So I guess the bowmen actually could reach on the inside because they have arcing shots, but they're not. They're going to try to take out that ballista because the ballista's got a pretty decent shot of surviving when this thing crumbles. All right, so this first one's going to be the bowmen. They got a disrupt, okay. And then this one will be the riflemen. They got a push. All right, so now with the ballista, it rolls a white die for defense. It got a shield, so really just the push happens. And can war machines get pushed? I think they can. Can they? That doesn't make a lot of sense. I'm not 100% positive on this. I'm going to leave the war machine where it is now. I'm going to say that it can't be pushed. Somebody, that might not be right, though. I'll have to look up the rules when we're done. Basically, that attack was pointless, but this is going to collapse, and then they'll rush in afterwards. So now there are 2 more activations available to the English player. One of those is clearly going to be, so the siege tower is going to move here, or actually here. So now this area, because it's adjacent to the area with the siege tower, which is adjacent to the ramparts, that means that this area is now considered adjacent to this, and that the melee units can now attack. And the bowmen, we'll have them fire first. Obviously into this group. All right, so just a push. Feel confident these guys can block that. Oh, and actually, before we do anything, we have the riflemen here have Terror 1, which means you have to roll a yellow die to see if any of these guys are too scared to activate against them. And a push results, so one of these people will not activate. We'll say it's the musician. All right, so now we got to do some defense dice because remember the bowman did a push result against them. All right, 1 shield blocks the push. Okay, nobody had retaliate, so the rest of that stuff doesn't matter. All right, but now the foot knights are going to attack. I just realized that terror can't affect the musician or the standard bearer because they don't actually attack. They're just involved. So I would have done the bowman, but I've already attacked with them, so I don't feel like that's right. So we'll do one of the foot knights. Now the other one's going to attack with 2 red dice plus the white die added by the standard bearer. So here we go. Pretty good results, a kill and 2 disrupts. Fantastic. All right, so let's see if, what all did they roll for defense before? They had 1, because all of that attack happens at the same time. They had 1 shield, which actually, so that push would have gotten through, this kill would have gotten stopped, so that push would have gotten through. So 2 disrupts and a push. The French player is going to have his character be pushed off of the ramparts down to the ground, and so that will leave these 2 getting disrupted. All right, so if this character had been pushed on, had actually been disrupted or killed, then they'd be able to follow up and move into this space. But he was not. He's still alive. That area still has somebody in it, so they can't move in. But they get a real good shot of getting in there the next turn, depending on what the French player does. But that is the end of the British player's turn. All right, so now it's time for a casualties check. We'll check these foot knights first. That's a rally. So they were on the British side. All right, and then let's go with the rifleman rally. Okay, and the peasants, they are dead. And then these crossbowmen, dead. Oh man, French players having a rough time. All right, and so now we do a fire check, fire damage, I should say, and that is going to cause 1 damage to these ramparts, which is 3 total, which means it has fallen. So what happens here is anybody that is on the ramparts, which is just the ballista, is going to gets 1 red die of damage. It's a shield, so nothing happens there. They could have used their defense if there had been some damage, but that means they're going to survive. This breaks apart. A rubble gets placed here, taking up 1 space. And the ballista is there now as well, ready to keep doing what it does. But now we have this opening here that the British can get through, and so now they can start charging in here, and wreaking havoc. So now instead of just this 1 opening, we have both of these, and it's really going to be harder for the French player to keep them out. All right, so I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. If you like my channel, please subscribe. You can find me on Twitter @boredoffline. And until next time, if you're bored online, bored offline.